Hi Sagittarius, welcome back to the Astrology 33 channel. This is your 2021 overview. And what we're actually going to do is we're going to look at each of the houses of the zodiac based on your sign. And we'll actually roll some astrology dice to get the general feel for what the main areas of focus for you will be this year. And after that, we'll actually pull an oracle card as well to wrap things up. And thanks to those of you who liked, viewed, shared, subscribed, and donated to the channel. I appreciate all of that. This is just a little something extra I decided to do for the new year. And if you guys are looking for the January general readings or love readings, I actually have those posted already. You could just check them out on the playlist section of the channel. All right, so with all that out of the way, like I said, we'll get started with the dice first. So give them a roll, see what we get. Okay, so we have Capricorn energy. So for you guys, that's your second house of finances. So that's probably going to be a heavy area of focus for you guys this year. And we have 11, which is the 11th house, which is going to be around groups. Pretty much, yeah, groups, friendships, hopes and wishes. So that'll be an area of focus for you guys. This is Aquarian energy. But for you guys, your 11th house is Libra. And we have the South Node. And the South Node is actually in your sign. So it makes perfect sense that would be an area of focus. So could just be, on the one hand, getting in touch with some things from your past that, past skills you might not have even realized that you had. For some of you, integrating those things, and for others of you, letting go of some things that you feel need to be let go of as this transit wraps up throughout the rest of 2021. All right, so with that out of the way, we'll take a look at each of the houses of the zodiac, starting with the first house. Quite a few cards came up for you guys here. We have the Son of Cups in the north, so this is the equivalent of the Knight of Cups, which is Pisces energy. Nine of Cups, which is also Pisces energy. It's fortune in this deck. Ace of Swords. Three of Swords, which is Libra energy. Four of Swords, also Libra energy. And Six of Stones, which is Taurus energy. So, like I said, a lot of cards came up here, which is interesting. Could just be saying you guys have a lot going on this year. But if I were to see this as tied into one or two themes, the Prince of Cups here could just be saying that for some of you, you could just be really dedicating some energy to your family and home life this year, given that that's Pisces energy. For some of you, might even have love on your mind, possibly making love offers. With the Nine of Cups, it does look like there is some contentment there, or at the very least some potential for that. And given that this is in your, representing your first house, could be around, again, your home environment, maybe just very happy and comfortable with your home environment. Again, could be some repairs of connections with family. With the Ace of Swords, it looks like there's going to be some truth to realization that comes around for you guys this year. And with the Three of Swords, it could just be saying that there could be some disappointment around that, definitely. This is referred to as mourning in this deck. So definitely looks like there could be some disappointment, possibly even with friendships, if we consider the fact that Libra energy for you guys is your 11th house. But the good thing is, after that, we do see the Four, which is the truce energy. So whatever this disappointment is, looks like you guys will be able to work it out and actually move forward in a successful way. And speaking of success, the last card we have is Six of Stones, which in this deck is referred to as success. So that's Taurus energy there. So for some of you, this could just be saying that your work lives will actually be moving forward fairly well, which we saw with the Capricorn energy there too. So financially, looks like there could be some success for you guys. And speaking of finances, with the second house, we have 10 of Stones, which is Virgo energy. Alchemy, which is actually the equivalent of the Temperance card, which is your energy. And we have 5 of Stones, which is Taurus energy. So interesting to see that huge contrast, right, between the 10 of Pentacles, basically, and the 5 of Pentacles, with your card in between. So really what I see this as pointing to primarily, especially given that we see the Capricorn energy there too, which is your second house, could just be saying that there's probably going to be some financial success that comes your way. That's called richness in this deck too. So you might see some financial abundance, at least to an extent. But it could just be cautioning you there to make sure you stay balanced with that, though, because if you start overspending or spending recklessly, then it could lead you to material difficulty. So, could just be saying to be careful and remain balanced when it comes to your spending this year. So it looks like there will be money there, but again, just gotta try to be cautious and realize, okay, maybe put some of it aside. Don't just go spending it expecting that to be an abundant resources, then a resource that never runs out, basically. So that's primarily what I see there. On the one hand, it could just be saying that maybe your finances will be up and down in general, where you might go through those peaks and valleys where you might be making a lot of money, especially like let's say you're an entrepreneur, right? Maybe a couple of months of the year you're making a ton of money, then a couple of months of the year it might get really low. So that's another way I can see it too. But with this card, especially given that it is your card in the middle, looks like you'll be able to balance that out. But I do see that as more of a cautionary thing, saying, hey, yeah, you're definitely going to have some money coming your way, but just be mindful about how you spend it. All right, representing the third house, we have Eight of Cups, which is Pisces energy again, and Ace of Cups. So in this particular deck, they refer to the Eight of Cups as failure, and usually in traditional tarot, that's that energy where you see the person walking away from the Eight Cups that are stacked up. So it could just be saying that you might feel misunderstood in your communications, possibly even a bit scattered in your communications too, because what stands out to me here is those Eight Cups that are in all different directions. So could just be saying that you might be feeling misunderstood when it comes to communication. There is going to be a Mercury retrograde toward the very end of January in Aquarius, which is your third house communication. And in general, in 2021, the Mercury retrogrades will be in the air signs. So could definitely be more room for misunderstandings when it comes to communication this year. So that would make sense. But it could just be saying to try to focus your thoughts, because we see the Ace of Cups there, right? It looks like a much bigger cup compared to those. And it could just be saying that, if you feel misunderstood, just try to gather yourself and really focus and make sure that you're coming across the way you want to with your communication. Trying to see if anything else comes to mind with that. And this can actually be, again, like I was saying, for some of you, possibly with family. There could have been a falling out with a family member, for example, and this could be a year where you might try to work toward repairing that connection. All right, and speaking of family, for fourth house energy, we have Six of Swords, which is Aquarius energy, and the Moon, which is technically Pisces energy. So seeing these two come up together, and again, more Pisces energy, could just be saying that you have a lot going on in the subconscious this year, given that we're seeing Pisces energy so much. But again, it could also be related to family, since for you guys, Pisces is your fourth house. And if that's the case, I could see this as tying into what we saw there with the Three of Swords and the Four of Swords energy, which could just be saying that you guys might be healing a connection, even if it's just more along the lines of, hey, agree to disagree, right? Or agreeing to take a little space from each other for a bit. But yeah, with the Moon, looks like there could be some confusion there, and that could be the main issue. And like we see with the third house communication too, looks like there's definitely that potential for misunderstanding. So that could just be you guys maybe even coming to the realization that whatever this blow up was about, between you and another person, you might eventually find out, oh, it was just a misunderstanding. You might be able to clear the air, possibly even sometime during Aquarius season, and then move forward from there. All right, fifth house, really good energy. We have the Six of Cups. And in this deck, it's just simply referred to as happiness. So, given that the fifth house points to romance, creativity, children sometimes as well, definitely really good energy to see here. People tend to think of reconciliation when they see the Six of Cups, especially in traditional tarot. But as you can see here, it just says happiness. It just looks like you're really going to be enjoying yourselves, whether it be romantically or just having a lot of creative insights. There looks to be some success around that as well. So definitely a pretty solid energy to have there. All right, in the sixth house, we have a few cards. We have the Nine of Wands, which is actually Sagittarius energy, and it's called Power in this deck. The Hierophant, which is Taurus energy, which actually is your 6th house. And we have the Father of Wands in the East, which is the equivalent of Leo energy. So, looking at these all together, again, this is actually a Sagittarius card, so to me this shows that you be in your zone. You know, maybe you might feel like you've gone through a lot as far as your work lives go, and this could also be around health and daily routines too, just to point that out. But usually power, if you think about the Nine of Wands in traditional tarot, it's that guy who has the bandage on his head, he's holding on to one wand, and just has that look on his face like he's waiting for the other shoe to drop. So could just be saying that you guys might have gone through a lot when it comes to your work lives. But with the Hierophant here, I see that there's that ability for longevity within that area of your life. And then with the King of Wands, there could even possibly be a promotion for some of you. And especially because for you guys, you're naturally the Knight of Wands energy as Sagittarius. So if we think about that progression up to the King level, you know, definitely looks like there's some positive growth as far as that goes. So overall, this is pretty positive energy too. Okay, in the 7th house, we have 5 of Wands in reverse. So in this deck, they actually refer to the 5 of Wands as conflict, and that's pretty much what in traditional tarot what that card depicts as well with the artwork. So with this in reverse, could just be saying that, so for some of you, maybe that falling out was around a romantic relationship, for example, and if that's the case, it looks like conflict is coming to an end there. Or even if this is a newer connection you're in, right, we do see that 6 of Cups energy. So for some of you, this can definitely point to reconciliation, where maybe there was a falling out and some conflict, but now you guys are moving past that. Or for others of you, it could just be where maybe you do go through some kind of a breakup, but have another connection that comes along where you're actually, okay, if you're accustomed to a relationship with a lot of conflict, for example, this could be one that's actually the opposite of that, where it's like karmically you get rewarded for what you went through in the past, you know? All right, representing the 8th house, we have the 10 of Swords, which is referred to as Ruin in this deck. So, you know, this can definitely be a disappointing energy to see come up. Now, on the more positive side of that, it does point to an ending coming to things. So given that we did see that 3 of Swords with the 4 of Swords following it, and seeing this here, I feel like this is primarily pointing to you guys actually putting something behind you. And it could have been something that's been going on for a long time. So like I said, as a generic example, maybe if you've been in a relationship for a long time that just wasn't fulfilling, you might leave it behind and end up with a far better connection. Or again, if there was just some confusion and misunderstandings, you could actually be putting that behind. And this could even just be saying you might be overthinking things when it comes to intimacy, you know, and that could be causing blockages for you. So, you know, intimacy does tend to function best wherever when you are more open and flowing with the energy. So for some of you, it could just be saying you might have been getting trapped in your heads a lot, as opposed to actually just experiencing things. If that's the case, I wouldn't worry about it too much. As far as, like I said, in the 5th house, we see that 6 of Cups energy. And yes, we do see that 3 of Swords buried in here somewhere. But like I said, the fact that we see the 4 of Swords immediately after that, to me, is a really good sign. And then that 6 of Pentacles, which points to balance being restored and success. So definitely could just be, for me, this is probably for the majority of you saying that this is more of a mindset, where you either come to realization where you might be blocking things for yourself in a certain way, or even if it is an actual disappointment, actually moving forward from that in a much more positive way as well. All right, in the 9th house, we have Dominion, which is the 2 of Wands, which is Aries energy. And we have Mother of Stones in the West, which is the equivalent of Capricorn energy. So we were talking about the Capricorn energy earlier for you guys. It came up as one of your dice, and then also just general things I was seeing in the spread. But this could just be saying that some of you might actually be starting something new when it comes to finances, and if that's the case, it looks like something that can actually provide some longevity for you, so that's a good thing there. Some of you, this could even represent maybe you're deciding to go back to school, given that the ninth house could point to higher education sometimes. So, you might come to the realization that, okay, I've gotten as far as I can in a certain area, right? In order for me to take that next leap, I might have to go back to school, get a higher certification or something along those lines. For some of you, this can represent venturing out and doing some traveling as well. If we think about in the traditional tarot, the Two of Wands, there's a guy holding the globe, looking out over the horizon. So could just be saying that, maybe travel or just working with people in distant places, which is a lot easier to do these days with the internet, could lead to some financial success for you guys. All right. In the 10th house, we have Father of Cups in the North, which is actually the equivalent of Scorpio energy. So interesting for this to come up in your 10th house of career and social status, because for you guys, Scorpio is your 12th house. So it could just point to a lot of spirituality. Maybe you guys are within your careers connecting more in a spiritual way, and that's going to bring you some financial success. Maybe some of you are a tarot reader, like the Illust Illuminator. Shout out to Sonia. But, could just be pointing to that. But it could just be saying that you might have to rely on your intuition. Some of you might actually be just getting into tarot this year too, and that could actually help point the way for you guys as far as what you want to do if you're a bit undecided around the career path. But what stands out to me with this particular deck too is the way he's upside down there. Kind of reminds me of the Hanged Man as well, which again points to 12th house energy. So for a lot of you, I feel like you could just be deciding to take up a bit more of a spiritual path within your careers. Even if you do technically have a more traditional job, you might just find something that you connect with more on a spiritual level in doing it. All right, in the 11th house, we have the 8 of Pentacles in reverse, 7 of Pentacles in reverse, and 7 of Swords in reverse. So, given that this represents friendships, groups, and hopes and wishes, could just be saying that you guys might actually be giving up on a certain situation. With the 8 of Pentacles in the upright, that's usually working for yourselves, and usually I point to that as someone making their own money. Now, this is the 11th house though, so it could just be saying around a group you might be associating with or friendships. Maybe you're feeling a bit underappreciated, so you might stop putting in effort toward those connections, where you might feel like maybe you're the one carrying all the weight in those connections, for example. And with the 7 of Pentacles also coming up in reverse, though, in this particular deck, it's referred to as failure. And then with the 7 of Swords also, in the upright, this would definitely be a bit more negative to see, but when it's in the reverse position, it's actually a far more positive thing. So it could just be saying that, if you are putting your energy into connections where you feel like they're not really fulfilling you, and again, we did see the 11th house showing up as significant for you guys this year, could just be saying that you might decide to leave that behind, and in doing so, avoid failure. That's one way I could see it playing out. But again, like I said, I feel like for most of you, it's just where it's a situation where you're not feeling appreciated within those connections, and you might stop putting in work toward them. Now, for some of you, it could just be saying that might pay off, as far as that might help, kind of nudge them toward actually picking up the slack. So, if you really have been putting in more of the work in those connections, for example, because like we said, we did see a disappointment there, possibly in a friendship, since that was Libra energy. Just be saying that might actually either help them realize that they need to pick up the slack, or by letting that go, you might have some better connections come your way. All right, and finally, 12th house energy, we have the 8 of Wands, which is Sagittarius energy, and 3 of Stones, which is Capricorn energy. So yeah, tying this into that 10th house energy that I was already talking about, I definitely see this as saying you guys are probably going to get a lot of ideas this year. Your subconscious is probably going to be firing like crazy, which is interesting because there's nothing really significant going on in Scorpio this year, but, just definitely seems to be where you're at. And then with that 3 of Pentacles, I see this saying that, intuitively you'll be able to figure out how to turn these ideas of yours into something tangible that you could actually grow and see tangible, real real world results from. So again, like I said, some of you might decide to actually take up a more spiritual path as a career, like a tarot reader or a yoga instructor or something along those lines. So Reiki healer possibly, but yeah, that's what I'm seeing there. See if anything else comes to mind with that. But yeah, and again, the fact that that's Capricorn energy, to me, it's saying that you find a way to take an idea of yours and actually turn it into something tangible that you could actually benefit from on a more financial level. I don't necessarily think that's your intent. You're not in it just for the money, but I feel like it's one of those things where you're able to merge those two things. And that could be what the alchemy card showing up in your second house is about too. Finding that balance between something that, you enjoy doing, but also being able to get a decent amount of money doing so. All right, and I forgot to mention at the bottom of the deck we have the Hermit. So interesting energy there, where it could just be saying in a way you might be being a bit more introspective this year, but also keep in mind the Hermit being Virgo energy, that's your 10th house too. So could just be focusing on your finances quite a bit, and underneath that we actually see the Nine of Pentacles, speaking of material gain. So definitely pretty positive outlook as far as finances go. And all right, so finally we'll pull a card from the Wisdom of the Oracle deck here. And I did pre-shuffle the deck, but what we're going to be looking for here is just a jumper with general advice, and then we'll wrap up. And if I shuffle for a while and nothing comes up, I'll just put the deck down and we'll pull a random card. But we'll see if we get anything. Oop, got one, but it fell. So let me pick that up. We'll see what it says. All right. So you guys got flexible. There's the artwork, and the number is 19. So we'll see what it says. All right, it says teachability, open-mindedness, being adaptable without compromising what's most important. The Oracle's message: a tree's roots are solidly planted in the ground, yet its branches can bend in a hurricane, whereas a rigid structure like a building will come crashing down. Consider how the tree remains supple and secure when everything around it may be in shambles. This is how you need to be now. Willing to learn new things, teachable, malleable, yet firmly grounded in who you are. Common sense is important, but so is an open mind. Stay curious, stay open, stay aware. At this time, others will be more flexible with you too. So definitely a pretty positive message there, and it does support what I was saying as far as it looks like there might be some difficulties and some confusion around communicating, but I definitely see some energy of being able to restore peace, possibly even leaving connections behind that aren't fulfilling you and finding more happiness in new connections. So hopefully that resonated with you guys. All right, the relationship message says in every relationship it's important to be open to new experiences and learning new things. Letting go of rigidity is what's required right now. You don't always have to be right all the time, do you? It's okay to come to a happy compromise. You can still get your needs met. It's a beautiful day when you meet halfway. The appearance of this card in the reading could also signal that you have met someone new who may not be your type, but who will turn out to be so special that you can easily release your old ideas about what sort of partner is right for you. Be flexible. You'll be happy you made that choice. So, pretty positive message there as well. I will say though, I feel like with the Six of Cups showing up in your 5th house as far as romance goes, I feel like this is someone, again, like I said, for all of you, it's not going to be reconciling. I feel like this is someone that you're just going to feel like a natural connection to. You might feel like you've known them forever. They might remind you of someone from the past or something along those lines, but hopefully that resonated with you. All right, the prosperity message says, even when you have a clear vision of how you're going to manifest something, what it will look like, who will share in it, and what will then be available to you, you still need to relax and open up to other possibilities. Spirit may have much better plans for you. It could be a job you hadn't thought of, a new source of money, or some other opportunity that eluded your imagination. Be flexible and remind yourself, this or something better manifest for me now. Then be willing to bend a little. Enjoy the miraculous results. So definitely a pretty positive message there. And like I said, maybe if you guys were already going through some financial difficulties, especially when you guys had Saturn moving through your second house, that's not too surprising. And generally speaking, if you really learn those lessons there, once it actually moves on, which it has, it's moved on into Aquarius. For some of you, it might still be in your second house since it's still in the very early degrees of Aquarius. But, once energy tends to lift, you might start to see the progress that you were hoping for. So hopefully that resonated with you guys. I'll see you guys in a few months for the February readings, all right? A few weeks, excuse me. Bye.